Hi guys. So today I'm going to talk to you about how to do shoulder stand if you are more well endowed in the chest area. So I believe this can apply to boys as well as girls, but yoga was done by mostly men for hundreds and thousands of years and has only more recently been done by women. So these are the sorts of things that don't find so much in ancient texts. If, like me, you're quite busty and you often wear your clothes the wrong way round so as not to show too much cleavage, then this video will hopefully help you to make yourself a bit more comfortable in particularly shoulder stand. So there are a few things that you can do. This applies to anyone whose neck doesn't do a sort of 90-degree flexion required for the shoulder stand as well. And that's true for most necks, in my experience. So you can set up on your mat a couple of thick folded blankets to give you a few inches of lift, or if you've got foam blocks or other sturdy blocks, so not the squashy ones, the one I'm holding is actually a squishy one, but these ones are not squashy. You can set up a little platform of 4 together, and these will go underneath the upper back to support you, to give you a little bit of lift so that your chin is a little bit more open, so that when your boobs react to gravity and come down towards your chin, you're not quite so suffocated as you are if you're doing it without the support. And from my own personal experience, this has gotten a bit more challenging with age. So now that things are softer, they move around a bit more, and probably don't need to say any more than that. Okay, so when you set up like this, the most important thing is that when you lie down over your support, that your shoulders don't come right to the edge of the support. They want to be a little bit, maybe an inch or 2, if you're in centimeters, about 3 to 4 centimeters, before the edge of the support. And that will give you room, because when you come into your shoulder stand, you're going to roll up onto the top of your shoulders more. So if you set up with the top of your shoulders here, you'll just roll off your support and you could hurt your neck. So you definitely want to avoid that. And we want to leave space for the neck to be completely free of the support. I'm just going to kick those blankets out of the way and show you what I mean. So as you come down, you want to set up so the tops of your shoulders are a little bit away from the edge of the blocks. But at the same time, you don't want the edge of the block to press onto the back of the neck when you roll up into your shoulder stand. So I'm going to be about here. I think that's about a half a finger's length for me. And then you can come up into your shoulder stand however you like to do it. So I was always taught to go up into like Viparita Karani, bendy banana pose first, and then come up into shoulder stand from there. But some people like to roll into Plough first and then come up. And so however you choose. Getting up from the floor when you're already lifted up on a support can sometimes be a bit of a challenge as well. I find that holding onto the sides of my mat helps. And I just lift my hips up, place my hands onto the back somewhere above the buttocks, and I can check here to make sure that I haven't rolled off the support, that my shoulders are still really well supported by the blocks underneath. I wouldn't recommend you turn your head as I've just done, but that's, you know, do as I do, not as I say. Do as I say, not as I do. Good one. Okay, so after a few moments here, just letting your blood settle to where it needs to be, or where its new pathways are found, you can begin to walk your hands up towards your shoulder blades and straighten your body. And if you want to, you can sort of point into the ball of the foot, or you can flex the feet and extend through the heels. I'm just going to hold for a few breaths. And now, whilst my boobs have moved towards my chin, I still have ample space to breathe, just about. And from here I can take Plough. So I usually do one leg variations. So just feeling my way in. I haven't actually practiced this morning, and I ate breakfast, which is probably a bad combination.
But there we are. So coming just gently down into Plough. And then when I'm in Plough, I can reach for the mat behind me, or I can interlace my fingers. And whilst there is quite a lot of a smaller gap between the boobs here and the chin, there's still enough space for me to breathe, so I can hold it for probably around about 15 or 20 breaths if I would like to. I probably won't do that today. And then I'm going to use Plough to get right up on top of my shoulders. I can feel that my shoulders are still supported here by the blocks. The back of the neck isn't touching the blocks. And I can come into bridge as well, which is nice. I like to do this variation, the Shivananda series. And hold in bridge here. And even doing bridge up on the blocks gives me a little bit more space, a little bit more freedom in the base of the neck and the throat chakra. And when I'm ready, I can just gently roll down and take a moment just to stretch out here, or take a fish pose perhaps. And I can roll my head gently from side to side just to release the back of the neck a little bit from that very strong stretch on the back of the neck. So this is how you can do shoulder stand on the blocks. Again, the really important things are to make sure that you don't put your shoulders right to the edge of the blocks, because when you roll up, you'll roll towards the edge of the blocks. And that positioning for me felt pretty perfect because I could feel that the tops of my shoulders were on the blocks, but I could feel where the edge was. And you don't want the edge of your block, particularly if you're using firmer blocks or a firmer blanket, to be touching the back of the neck. So when you roll and your whole body moves towards the top of your mat, then you want to make sure that you don't have that pressure or contact that would cause any constriction. You might be able to hear my daughter, she's on a Zoom call with her classmates at the moment. So apologies if you can hear 8-year-olds screaming in the background. So this is how you can do it with the blocks. It works exactly the same with the blankets, and you can do your shoulder stand otherwise in exactly the same way as you would normally do. Just gives you a little bit of extra space here, which is so much nicer. I do practice a freestanding shoulder stand every once in a while. I just like to do it every once in a while, but usually if I'm going to do that, I start with the wall. So I thought I would show you exactly how that looks as well. So for this, I come all the way to one side of my mat, talk to my Mr. Spider Plant here, and then just gently roll my torso down and legs up. So I end up in legs up the wall. Now, many people think that this is Vipariti Karani, but it's actually just a variation of it. And Vipariti Karani is a mudra, a gesture of the whole body rather than a pose, an asana. So in case you didn't know, there we are. So here I can start in this position, and for anyone who feels that shoulder stand is just not going to suit their neck, so if you've got an old neck injury or shoulder injury or whiplash injury, something like this, or you know you've got a fused cervical vertebra, or perhaps soft cervical vertebra, something like this, you'll know if you have one of these things, or if you perhaps suffer from headaches and you're having one at the moment, then this variation of doing the shoulder stand is a really, really good option. And it's accessible for pretty much anyone. It's also really tranquilizing on the body, which shoulder stand itself is also classed as a sort of more cooling, tranquilizing pose. However, this is the most cooling and tranquilizing version. So it's great for anybody in hormonal fluctuation. It's great to do before bed. And in fact, this is what I do in my bed at night. When I've brushed my teeth, I hop in, stick my legs up the wall. It rests the venous return. So if my legs are achy or feeling hot, then it helps to cool them down, and it settles my energy for the evening as well. So if I want to do a sort of floor-based shoulder stand, I will start in this position and then place my feet onto the wall, my arms down towards the sides of the body, touching the wall perhaps here, rolling the shoulder blades back and down, and just gently rolling up. And here I could go up and down, a little bit like a wall-based bridge, a few times. When I'm ready, I can roll the shoulder blades underneath, and I can reach the feet up the wall. And this version of the shoulder stand might be also something that is maybe better for you. There's much less pressure into the shoulders, there's much less pressure into the elbows, although in the fuller shoulder stand, of course, we don't have so much pressure in the elbows. But if you want to do a little bit more, you can keep one knee bent and lift one leg towards where it would be if it was in the fuller shoulder stand. And you can go to the other side as well. And so there are some days when this suits me and maybe my neck flexion's feeling good and I can feel quite comfortable in a floor-based shoulder stand for a shortish period of time. So in Shivananda series, the shoulder stand can be held for anything up to about 15 minutes. And that's maybe a little bit too long for me to do a floor-based shoulder stand now, because it's just too constricting and it's too warming on my throat chakra. But if I want to do a short one for a little while, then I can do this variation. And otherwise, I take my blocks when I come out, come to one side. The advantage of one of the postures that perhaps looks really good or feels really good when you're more well endowed in the chest area is fish pose, and that is the counter pose for shoulder stand. So it's the very last pose in the series, and so I will show you that now because it's a really nice one to do as well. So for fish pose, you start by lying down, and this is called Matsyasana in Sanskrit. And I'm going to roll my arms underneath the body so that the palms are facing down. So one hand under and the other hand under. And I interlace my fingers actually because I want to draw my upper arms towards each other as much as possible. But when I put my bottom down, or my buttocks down, I'm going to have my hands flat and the thumbs no longer interlaced. So again, not turning the head from side to side in this posture, as I keep doing. And you can see that already there is an openness in the chest, a little openness in the throat chakra that wasn't there before, perhaps, throat area. And the legs, I'm just going to leave my legs long in this variation, but I'll maybe show you what you can do with them. And then to come into the pose, I sit up as high as I can onto my elbows, bend the elbows, roll the shoulder blades together, and then just take the crown of the head towards the floor. When you're holding, hold with your mouth closed. So the crown of the head barely touches the floor if you want to touch it at all. So there's no weight in the head, and the lift is from between the shoulder blades to keep the heart open, the throat open. Breathing deeply into the top of the chest, always pressing down, always lifting. And then to come out, oh no, I'm going to show you leg variations. So you can cross your legs, or if you can do Padmasana, take Padmasana or Ardha Padmasana, the lotus and half lotus poses here. And there is a version that you do with cross legs, you enter with cross legs. But otherwise you can leave the legs nice and relaxed. You can lift the legs off the floor if you want to. And this is another variation, perhaps for more advancing students. And then when you're ready to come out, you press into the elbows and look forward and up, and then release down. So the effort is to support the movement of the head and the neck, releasing the arms out from underneath the body, and relaxing. This is the perfect pose to do at the end of your practice before relaxation. The relaxation that you achieve after fish pose is, it's just fantastic, just fantastic. I was going to say a little bit more profound, a little deeper, but I guess that depends on you. But try it and see. But we have to counterpose a little bit first. So I like to take my hands underneath the top of the back of my head, bring the elbows together, lift the head so I'm looking towards my feet, and that stretches my neck the opposite way. I don't really want to stretch it much. I'm just trying to help it to move, to mobilize in the opposite direction. And then I might roll the head to one direction and back to center. And so returning the head to the other direction and back to center, but very much supported by the arms. So the head itself, the weight is taken by the arms. And then releasing all the way down. When I come down, relaxing the arms wide and gently with the head supported completely by the floor, rolling from one side to the other. And so particularly if you are more well endowed in the chest and you're doing poses like child's pose or plough pose, forward bending Paschimottanasana can be very, can feel a little constricting as well. Then you can take fish pose afterwards and it will help to alleviate any constriction or compression in the front of the throat. Sorry, I'm just stirring the knees. I like to do that quite often. And then I thought maybe as I'm here, I could show you also one of the things that happens in forward bends is that because there's more structure to the body here, you can actually achieve what looks like a great forward bend. So as you come into your forward bend, you look like you're making a good shape with your body because your chest is already on your knees really early. Fantastic. There's got to be some advantages. But when you're in forward bends and you've got a bit more gravity here, there's a tendency for your shoulders to come up and round. And what that does is it makes this space in the front of the throat even more uncomfortable. So in forward bends, roll your shoulder blades, glide them down your back, and just lift slightly out. You'll get a much better shape in the back of your body. And you can negotiate your way down into your forward bend, but with your shoulders down, creating lots more length, lots more space here at the front. And you'll find that that's just a more comfortable way to hold. And the same thing applies to a standing forward bend, but I don't know if I've set the camera up, so I'll be out of picture. Oh no, it's all good. Okay, so in a standing forward bend, same thing. So you're in Hastasana or Uttanasana, as the case may be. And in your forward bend, you can just let gravity really draw the shoulders towards the ears and create this sort of curvature of the upper back. It's not helpful for us if you're more well endowed. So rolling the shoulder blades down the back, you're creating much more length down the sides of the neck, much more openness here at the front. So you encourage the pectoral muscles to support the weight of your chest as well. And that gives you much more space, and you don't lose anything in the shape here because you've still got that lengthening of the spine. You're just creating much more support for particularly your chest and your upper back. And so that's a nice way to do your forward bending as well. So hopefully this has given you not mad hair like me, but a few ideas for your practice if you are just a little bit more well endowed in the chest. And please continue to ask questions and let me know. I will do a little informative videos to answer any of your questions and share with you the joys of yoga. So looking forward to the next one, guys. Thank you for joining me for this one.